And the reason is going to come across as a little odd, at least at first, because I've had a lesson over this weekend, a very large lesson, and two major things happened to me this weekend, and then I'm going to turn it into gratitude. They both happened on Friday. On Friday, I decided that I would try to put some stuff together for the Twice Nice sale. And we have a space under the stairway where the evil things live, also known as the junk that I can't do anything with, just throw it all under there. And it's been gathering there for 25 years. And I decided, all right, I'm going to tackle that, at least get one thing out of there. And you know how it works. If you pull one thing out, then it's like, oh, well, there's this, and there's this. And I'm pulling stuff out from under the stairs that I haven't seen in 20 years, not even remembering I have it. Part of what I had under the stairs is a tie rack, and the tie rack has a whole bunch of ties from the 90s, which were the bright, colorful ties that I used to wear. So I said, oh, I ought to sell these. And then I thought, well, I ought to sell a few other things. If I'm going to get rid of these things, maybe I can sell them. And I have a leather jacket that I got from my mother in '94 that I'm no longer wearing, and I haven't wanted to get rid of it, but it's just sitting in my closet. So I decided to sell it. So a friend of mine is using something called Poshmark. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Poshmark. It's kind of, as I'm understanding it, an eBay for clothing. And she makes a whole bunch of money on Poshmark. So I figured, okay, I don't want to donate my leather jacket because it means too much. I want to actually sell it. So I set up a Poshmark account, and I put my leather jacket on it, and within a second, I get a response. As a matter of fact, I'm flooded with responses. And I go running into Marianne's studio. I go, you won't believe this. This is great, man. So the first response that comes in is a link. And it says, in order to sell on Poshmark, you need to complete this verification. Yeah. I'm tech savvy, so I'm really clever about this, but I'm so excited that I click on the link. And the link takes me to a page that looks like Poshmark. And it says, please complete your financial information.
Did you get hijacked?
What?
Did you get hijacked?
So I go ahead and put my information in, and it says, do not close this window or you will not be able to complete this. So I sit there and wait, and it says, we are going to make a deposit into your account of two small, you've probably had this yourselves, 2 cents, 3 cents deposit. Don't worry about it. I go, okay, I've had this happen before. And I wait, and then my phone lights up, and I get a text alert from the fraud department of my bank saying, did you authorize these charges? So I go to look at the charges, and there's 2 $500 charges. I always use a credit card. In this one case, I decided to use a debit card. Why? I don't know. So they grabbed $1,000 out of my account. And I call the fraud alert people, and they say they closed off my account. There's nothing else you can do right now. Hopefully it won't be, authorized. It was under the pending category. So if it drops off tomorrow morning, you're fine. If not, you've got to call the fraud alert people. So I wake up yesterday morning after what I finish up what happened Friday night, and sure enough, it has been authorized, so I'm out $1,000. Now, tomorrow I will call the fraud alert people, but I'm trying to remain positive, but their modus operandi is they do this, close down, and move on. So we will see about that. So that was the first thing that happened. That night, I'm on some new medication that my doctor just started me on. And I'm sitting watching TV and with my wife, and my hand does this, which is not what I had wanted my hand to do. So I go, well, this is kind of weird, and stretch out my fingers again. And then about 10 minutes later, my leg does this and gets really sore and hurtful. And I go, what the heck? So I'm trying to stretch out my leg, and I try to stretch out my other leg, and they both turn into claws. And I get really pained, and then I feel my chest is starting to hurt, and I'm very lightheaded, and this new medication has a very rare side effect, And those are some of the symptoms, and it's fatal if you get those side effects. So I say to my wife, I think we need to go to the emergency room. And off we go to the emergency room Saturday night, and they do a complete workup on me, EKG, urine, the whole thing, x-rays. And I'm in the emergency room for about 3 or 4 hours, and they come back to me later, and they say, that after the doctor finally sees me, I was greeted by this delightful reception nurse. His name is Jesse. You used to go to Eureka Family Practice, right? Remember John, who was the front office at Eureka Family Practice? Just this wonderful, warm, that's Jesse. Just this delightful, reassuring human being. Anyway, long and the short of it is the doctor comes up to me, and he says, we've run every test on you we can. We've run all the tests. There is nothing wrong with you. He said it could be some symptoms of the medicine you're on. Stop the medicine, go talk to your GP. But it is not what this thing that you're thinking.
Poshmark is what happened.
Yeah, exactly. I bought it on Poshmark. And he said, on your workup, as a matter of fact, he goes, your workup was perfect. He goes, you have the workup of a 40 to 50-year-old man. Which back in the day I would have considered an insult. Today, of course, I consider it a compliment. So I left feeling okay. Yesterday morning I get up, the money goes through that I didn't want to go through. I'm really tense and agitated again. So I decide I don't want to carry that. So I do 50 push-ups and 50 jumping jacks to alleviate the tension. So that's the setup. And I'm, first of all, pissed as hell still and feel victimized about my $1,000. But I decided I didn't want to sit on that. So I thought about all the great things that came from this. And what I wanted to do is share just a quick list of all the positives that happened from what came across as 2 very negative events. And then we'll close with just a moment of thinking about gratitude. So some of the things, first of all, I'm okay. That's like a big one. The fact that I had $1,000 to steal, when they say 60% of the country can't even afford $400 for some sort of crisis, I had it. In reality, I had just put a deposit in, so I had more than that, which means they didn't overdraw my account, and I would have had to have all of these bouncing checks and everything, and have to do all of that. When I started to have the health problems, I was not alone. I could have been alone. I was not. My wife was there, who stayed calm. The fact that we live 5 minutes from the emergency room, the fact that I have insurance, the fact that Medicare is going to cover the vast majority of this, so I didn't have to think twice about going in for something like that. My blood pressure, when I checked in at the hospital, my blood pressure is pretty good because I run a lot. My blood pressure had spiked to 170 over 110. Not what you want to hear. Jesse said, the nurse, he goes, I am not at all concerned about that for you. His attitude, the fact that he really listened, the fact that they didn't find anything wrong, being told that I have the profile of a 40 to 50-year-old man, which I am holding over my wife's head repeatedly. The next morning I got on the scale. For the first time in over 40 years, I weigh 178, which is 1 pound less than my goal weight, which I've held for a long time. The fact that I could do 50 push-ups and 50 jumping jacks, how the space looks under the stairs is something that came positive, and the fact that I'm here to share it. And so I just wanted to turn it around and try and stay out of the judgment that we so often put on things. And granted, I do not want $1,000 taken away from me. I do not want to go to the emergency room. But the way it all turned out, I really do think, and I'm not being Pollyanna, that it was a great lesson and nice to be able to put it in perspective, to have the ability and the willingness to put it in perspective. So I wanted to share that, and what I would like to do is just spend some time being grateful. So if there is, turn off the lights because that's what they say we're supposed to do. And what I'd like you to do is think of an event that at first didn't seem like it was going to be something positive for you. If you can think of one of those, and you got yourself all riled, and in the end you realized turned out that the lessons that came from it later were really nice and positive. So let's just take a minute, if you will, to be grateful. So as we sit here and we feel the energy of the room, which is filled with gratitude, and gratitude is just another form of love and acceptance. And I firmly believe you can't feel grateful and feel angry or bad at the exact same time. They do not coexist. And there seems to be so much to feel angry and upset about. And not to take away from those, but I can also focus on the fact that I am grateful for so much. Where most of the world would clamor and beg to be where we are, we have to remind ourselves how fortunate we are. We have to remind ourselves sometimes of the beauty that surrounds us, especially on a morning like this, that our families are with us, that we are surrounded by a community of friends, that we live in one of the most beautiful places on the planet, that we have the time to sit here on a Sunday morning and just reflect and be grateful that we have each other, and that right here, right now, in this moment, everything is as good as it could be. So I take a moment to let the energy of gratitude and thanks fill me up, and I realize how happy I am when that happens, and how healthy I am to be able to do that. And I release this gratitude into the universal law of mind, knowing it gets multiplied and sent back to me as much as I can possibly imagine, and even more so, which is one more reason to be grateful. And for that I say, and so it is. And thank you for sharing with me this morning. I'm grateful for it.